Hello everyone, my name is Nick and today we're going to repot those Hoyas that I recently got in my Logees unboxing video. If you haven't watched it already, I'm going to link it right up here for you to go watch, and then you can come back here and watch me repot them. And I figured while I'm repotting these Hoyas, I would talk about what it's like to work in a plant shop. Now I know I recently did a video, Come to Work With Me at a Plant Shop, but I think that was a very poor representation of what I actually do at work because that was just a Sunday and weekends don't really represent what I do at my job. I do have a lot more responsibility than that video made it seem like I do, so I figured I would talk about what I do more so as the buyer rather than someone who's just selling plants on a weekend. But before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit about repotting Hoyas. So anytime I bring a plant home, I'm always going to let that plant acclimate to my home. Think about it, those plants are going through a period of stress when they're going through the mail. Whether you ordered them online or you're buying them at a plant shop, those plants have been shipped to their destination. So these plants have only been through the mail for a period of 2 to 3 days, which is actually quite nice. But I'm thinking about when I order plants through some of my places that I order from, they take up to 5 days on a truck to get to me. So even if you're buying a plant in a plant shop, you definitely want to let those plants acclimate to your home, because I definitely noticed some of those plants go through a period of stress themselves, with some leaves yellowing and falling off. So I'd say if you're buying a plant at a plant shop, it sometimes is almost more stress than if you actually get them sent to you in the mail. So regardless, I would definitely recommend letting your plants acclimate when you bring them to your home. My Hoyas have acclimated quite well to my home over the past 2 weeks, and I'm going to use a very nice porous mix for my Hoyas. So anytime I'm potting Hoyas, I really like to use not only perlite in my mix, but some orchid bark, and I really like to use some fine orchid bark. So this orchid bark that I actually purchased was a little too thick for my liking, so I actually cut it up a little bit, so that's a little bit more fine. I think the Hoya roots kind of appreciate that more than like an orchid would appreciate some thicker bark. Well, most orchids that would appreciate thicker bark. So I definitely take a little bit extra care to make sure that my potting medium is correct. So I have this orchid bark that I have cut up into smaller pieces, and I'm just adding it to my mix that already has some orchid bark added to it and just giving it a good mix. I really am doing quite a nice ratio of perlite and soil, like probably like 1-to-1. But the orchid bark is really there for those epiphytic roots that these Hoyas have. So in nature, Hoyas really grow up trees. If you go into a botanical garden, you are probably going to see some crazy Hoyas growing up trees. Like, it's pretty wild how mature these things get. So the orchid bark is in there to kind of simulate what tree bark would be like for it to climb up. So it just gives the root something extra to grab onto. The first Hoya we're going to repot today is this Hoya Ban Ngong Ngoy. Now I really like the way I have this Hoya in this basket, but I need to repot it, and I don't think I'm going to have a pot that fits in here that it's going to appropriately be planted in. It looks like this pot is the only one that's going to fit inside here. So I think I might have to do a different Hoya in this basket, unfortunately, but I'm sure I'll find one that works out and looks good and I will like. Maybe we'll do it in this white terracotta pot. I think that looks pretty good, and that will look, this plant's going on my new corner shelf in my plant corner from my last video, my plant corner makeover, and I think this white will look pretty good. So I think we're going to go ahead and plant it in this white pot. I think it's going to look really nice. Anytime you're repotting a plant, you definitely want to make sure that the pot that you are planting originally from fits inside the pot. So the planter that I was originally looking at, it did not fit all the way inside, but this is a pretty deep planter for a nursery pot. So just want to be mindful that there could be roots down here, and I don't want those roots to not do well if they're shoved into the bottom of this pot. So I definitely want to give them some extra room. Hoyas can actually be in quite small pots compared to some other plants, but you definitely want to make sure they have drainage, and you definitely want to give them some very porous soil. Okay, so what is it like to work at a plant shop, and what do I do more so is kind of what I'm going to talk about. So the video that I posted, like I said, was not the best representation because it was just kind of me being silly on a Sunday and having fun, which Sunday is more about having fun for me, and I put in the hard work during the week, which is funny because I actually put more time in on the weekend, but more of the work, as I said, goes in during the week. So my work week technically starts from home on Mondays, so I have a very specific job in the shop where I work at, where I'm really only there to do the plants, and that's kind of how I like it. So I only really work there when I'm needed, if you catch my drift. So my job starts on Mondays, and I get all of my availability sent to me from the weekend and on Monday when people go back to work, and then I'm texting the people that I'm buying from or calling them and talking about what plants they have every time. And this is more of a tip for you guys who are buyers out there, or work at a plant shop in general, but every time I order plants, I'm always texting or emailing the person that I placed an order with after I place an order, and I'm saying, what else do you got? Because there's probably other things that they have, and if they have something special, they're probably not going to put it on their availability list. So that's how I'm gonna get things like the rare Hoyas, things like Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, Swiss cheese. Like, this is how I'm gonna get those things that are harder to find, because people are not going to put that on availability, because if you put that on your availability, they're going to be gone in a second and everyone's going to be mad when they don't get it. So that is my tip for you guys if you do work at a plant shop and you're kind of wondering, how am I getting these hard to find plants? So I will tell you guys that much. So I get my list on Mondays, I'm given my budget by the person who gives me the budget at my work, and I work on my order. So I'm just putting an order together of what I like, which is really nice because since I'm in charge of this, I don't like to get plants that I consider to be maybe not the best quality or like the best experiences. Like, for example, I don't like to sell English ivy because I personally find it not only gets spider mites very quickly, but it'll get delivered to the plant shop with spider mites on it. So that is just a plant that I personally avoid, and I really like that I have the option to not buy plants that I think are not good. And I explain to people when they come in the shop that, you know, when they say, do you have English ivy? And they might be a little disappointed, but I'll explain to them why. And if they're still disappointed, then honestly they don't even know what's going on. So yeah, but not to say you can't grow ivy in your home, but with my experience, this is what happens, and I just don't want to sell people a plant when I have a bad experience with myself. So that being said, there's also other plants I don't like to sell too. Like, I don't like to sell many ferns because, one, if I get in a box of ferns and they're mistreated, because not everybody at the plant shop that I work at pays the closest attention to the plants if I'm not there, but I want my plants to be in good condition. So I don't like to buy plants that are like finicky and that if they're not paid attention to, I'm going to come back after a few days of being off and they're going to be dead. And they don't sell primarily that well either. Like, rare fern, or not rare ferns, but like just like weird ferns don't sell very well as far as like a bird's nest fern, which I will happily sell in the shop because not only are they easier to care for, but they sell. So that is something I'm always looking for. There's definitely plants I purchase a lot that I really like that might not sell that well, that maybe I still buy because I like them, and there's other times where I get a plant that I really like that just doesn't sell and I just can't buy it again because I am going to hear it from the owner or the manager or whoever. So I get my availabilities, I'm putting an order together on Monday, and I send it in, I ask them what's cool, what's good, I add that stuff to my order, and then I am waiting until Thursday or Friday when those plants come in. So that is the next time that I am doing work, because as I mentioned, there's not really anything going on for me to be doing in between me placing the order and the order actually physically arriving. So Thursday comes around, I go into work, I do my invoice, which means I print out, you know, what is coming in that day. I go through it all, I give it the prices. And when it comes to prices, I'm very direct in a sense, so I don't like to mark things up if they're rare. I solely go off the price of things. So I don't care if I'm getting in like Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. If it costs me so-and-so amount and my markup is so-and-so, I'm not charging more than that. Like, I don't care. First of all, it's not my money, and I'm not an asshole, and I notice that a lot of these companies like to make as much money as they can off these plants. And if you've come into the shop that I work at, Urban Jungle, it's not cheap. Like, it's not cheap by any means, but the prices are fair. I'm not going to charge more for something if I think I can't get money for it. So very often I'm actually putting things $1 or $2 below markup because I'm like, I cannot physically charge that much for a plant just because it costs me so much to get them wholesale. Speaking of which, this is something we'll go over another time, and I would actually love to like sit down when I have the means and like show you guys what a list looks like when I'm ordering plants, because I think it would be very good for a consumer to understand. But when you think about like going into like a big box store, a Home Depot or a Lowe's, that is like the same cost for plants wholesale, unless I'm ordering from like a place that's selling like only pothos and like ivy and syngoniums and things that I don't want to be selling in the shop because they're just not very interesting. So if I want to get the cool stuff, sometimes I have to spend a little bit more money, and that means the price goes up. And I'm just kind of wanting to get this point across because I've had plenty of time where I'm in the shop and I'm kind of caught off guard because someone will be like, can you explain to me why this plant is so expensive? And they'll pick up a plant that costs like $6.99 that would cost maybe $3.99 if you walked into a Home Depot. And I'm like, do you know where we're at right now? And we're not at a big box store, and it's like just baffling to me. But I totally get it, because I remember the first time I walked into an actual plant shop after I had been shopping at only Home Depot and Lowe's and IKEA for probably a year and a half, because I really did not have very much money. And when I saw those prices of those plants, I was like, holy crap, I was hit in the face when I realized that not every plant costs $3.99, and some of them cost way more than $3.99. But now that I'm in the space that I'm at now and I do the job that I do, it makes total sense to me. And I don't even wince when I'm in another plant shop and I see the price of a plant, because I just like to assume that they're doing the right thing. But there are some times where I see specific plants and I'm like, why are they charging that much money for it? Because just because the plant is new doesn't mean it's worth that much money. So that's just kind of something that I have noticed myself. Anyway, we just finished repotting this Hoya ban Ngong Ngoy. I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sure, but I'm gonna stick the tag back in, and I'm gonna let this plant settle in for 2 days or so, and then I'm gonna water it. Typically I water in all of my plants or most of my plants when I repot them, but Hoyas are a little bit more succulent, and I want those roots to settle in before I get them wet. Plus the soil is a little bit moist, so it'll be fine and it's not gonna dry up. So I'm gonna give it 2 days before I water it in, and then I think we'll be good to go. I think this Hoya ilagiorum, so bad with these Hoya names. This Hoya ilagiorum I think will look very, very good in this basket. So I am gonna go ahead and plant it in this smaller planter, since it pretty much fits all the way in, and then we'll put it inside that basket, and I think it'll look really nice. So that's the next Hoya we're gonna do. Okay, so Thursday, Friday, sometimes Wednesday, I show up at the plant shop when I know my delivery is coming in. And as I said, I get my invoice, I price it all out, and then I wait for the delivery to come. And I'm usually chatting with the person who's selling me the plants, because I usually have a really good relationship with them, and I like to see what's new, and I only get to see them once every week or two, so I like to see what's up, and I'd like to really build a relationship with the people that I buy plants from. So that's also another tip that I have for you guys out there who work in plant shops, because you're only going to get the good plants if you have a good relationship with them, because they're not going to want to give up the stuff that's good for people they don't really give a hoot about. So my plants come in, I have all my stickers printed, which is just like the price stickers, and then I go around, I throw all the stickers on top of the piles of plants, and I sit on the floor for 2 or 3 hours and I sticker plants. And that's what I do until I'm done. And then later in the day, I put all the plants out. And so I like to personally keep all the plants together when I put them all out. So not like all together, like if I order 30 of a plant, I'm not gonna put a pile of 30, but if I order, 15 of a plant, I'm gonna have a nice section of the all 15, because I like to, myself, when I'm picking out a plant, like to see all of them together and pick the very best one. So I like to give everybody that option. But like I said, if I get 30 of a plant, I might put like 10 around the store and 15 around an area and 5 in an area. But I like to keep them all together. I really don't like it when plants get kind of like singled out and by themselves, especially because then I'll be looking for a plant for a customer and then I cannot find it, and not until they leave and like an hour later I find it like hiding in some random corner. So that kind of drives me crazy. So I really like to keep all the plants together. As nice as it looks when the plants are all spread out in a crazy display, I just don't think it's as beneficial for the consumer or for someone picking up the plants. And I notice that they sell a lot better when I do it that way. So that's another tip I have for you guys who are working in plant shops. But after I get all the plants out, my day's really done. And then I'm kind of just watering extra plants. I'm always like doing things. I'm not just like sitting around if it's like a weekday. I like to keep busy because it makes time go faster. So I'll water plants, I'll make terrariums, which is something I do very, very often, especially on the weekends if it's kind of slow. I can do things like stock soil or price pots if I want to, although we kind of have shopkeepers to do that and that keeps them busy. So I don't do that very often, but it's something I do every occasion or so to keep busy if it's super slow. And here's Hoya ilagiorum that I just potted up. It looks so good in the basket. It's perfect. Wow. All right, let's stick the tag back in. So we went over my day at home, and then we went over my delivery day, and then I come back in and I work the weekends. And we're gonna repot another Hoya. So we have Hoya davidcumingii, which is a mouthful, and it kind of reminds me of like a Hoya kentiana combined with a Hoya bilobata. So not the most striking foliage, but still something else that I really appreciate. And if the roots are small enough on this, I would really like to pot it in this little yogurt cup that is made of terracotta, and I drill holes in the bottom, and I really love them. Shout out to Sue, my coworker, for showing me these, and I get these at Whole Foods. It's French, I can't pronounce the name, but I'll leave it in the description if you are curious. But I would like to pot it in here, but if it's too small, then I have some more terracotta pots that we could pot them in. But yeah, so the weekend. So I come in on the weekends and it's time to sell my plants. And I show up, and then the roots are a little too big on this. I think, I don't know, I'd really love to pot it in there. I think it would look so cute. I really want to do it. I might try. So I show up on the weekends and it's time to sell the plants. So weekends are the days that people go plant shopping. And I'm sure there's like things on Instagram I see that it's like weekends are for plant shopping and like, sorry, I have plants this weekend and stuff like that. So obviously weekends are a very, very popular time to go plant shopping. And this is probably a good time to mention. So I recognize I put myself out there and I do this, and I work at a plant shop where you guys can come in and talk with me, and I understand probably not many of these other YouTubers, I'm not sure if any others do this, but where you can like come and meet me, and you guys are more than welcome to come say hello to me. You're more than welcome to take a picture with me. You can do whatever you like as long as you're very nice to me. But I just want to take a moment and explain that I'm at work when you guys come in, and it's, like I said, it's totally cool to meet me, but if I'm like busy and walking around and suddenly you're like, Nick, and I turn around, I might not be the nicest person for like 5-10 seconds because I don't realize what's going on. Like I don't make the connection when I'm running around the store and someone's like, Nick, that they watch me on YouTube and that they're very friendly. I just want to explain that if you do come into the shop, there is a way to approach me. Not that there's a wrong way to approach me, because there, you know, I will always be friendly. Like I just said, I just want people to understand if you do catch me off guard and I'm kind of like, what, for like 5 seconds, it's because I'm not realizing what's going on. And as soon as you tell me that you watch me on YouTube, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. But I just definitely had a few moments where I look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, like I feel so bad because I literally thought someone was like not what was going on, and then I'm like very short with people because they just don't make the connection right away. So I just wanted to take a moment to explain that. What is the correct way to approach me? Well, if I'm not busy, first of all, it's totally cool to just come up and be like, hey, and I watch you on YouTube and stuff like, it's really, really not weird at all. Like people come in every day and tell me that they watch me on YouTube, so it's not strange of you to come in and say anything to me. And in fact, I think it would be a little bit more weird if you didn't tell me and you came into the shop. So just want to put that out there. I really do not want you guys feeling any type of way when you come in to Urban Jungle. I really would love you guys to say hello. This is why I'm working there. It's so we can talk plants. And in fact, what I would really love to do is chat plants. Like I don't want to talk about YouTube. I don't want to talk about like Instagram and stuff. I want to talk about plants. So if you come into the shop and you want to talk with me, like strike up a conversation with me about like what plants you've been loving lately. But do not ask me if I will sell you any of my plants, because the answer is no. And I will be nice about it and I might sugarcoat it and be like, but the answer is no. I'm just putting it out there. Absolutely not. People do come in a lot and ask if I would be willing to sell specific ones of my plants, and that is one thing I'm just going to say, absolutely not. If I'm selling a plant, I will put it on my Instagram story, but do not come in and ask me that. Just please respect my boundaries, as I do put myself out there, as I mentioned. Think about if you were in my situation and you were approaching me. Just think about it that way. I think that's the best way for me to put it. So back to repotting Hoyas and weekends. So I come on weekends and it's time to sell my plants, and I am totally going to risk it and put this plant in here. Like, I think it's gonna be okay. I think it's gonna be okay, but this is just too cute not to do, as you can see. So the weekends, I am there literally just to sell plants. I am very, very busy most of the time. People are coming in all day wanting to buy plants, big and small amounts of plants, large amounts of plants, and pretty much the whole entire day I'm going back and forth from going behind the counter and ringing up someone that I was selling plants to hanging out for 5 seconds and taking a breath, to going back out and helping more people buy their plants, to talking to somebody who watches me on YouTube and stuff like that. It's just a very, very busy day, and I really love it because it goes by really, really fast. I've definitely had some not great customers working in retail, and I am not the most retail ready person, I will say, but I am going to try to make these people happy even if there seems to be nothing that can make them happy. So be respectful when you go into a retail store. So anyway, yeah, the weekends go really, really fast, and I love that because it's really nice when work goes fast. So I can't complain. But really, my job at Urban Jungle is an absolute dream. I am so humbled to be able to do what I've dreamed of doing. In fact, it's actually like makes me tear up sometimes when I think about like 2 years ago and how I'm doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. And I'm really grateful for that. And honestly, I have you guys to thank for that. So thank you. Sundays are definitely a lot less busy, but if you want the best plants, you want to come on Saturday because I get cleaned out sometimes. And if you saw my come to work with me video, I was mentioning how although it was a weekend and I got a lot of plants in the few days prior, they go really, really fast, especially if I get something in and I do post on Instagram. And I do have to thank you guys. Like when I post on Instagram, the turnout, it's crazy. Like, I'm sorry I don't do it more often for the shop. But every time I post about plants that I'm excited about, you guys come through and you guys really make my job a lot easier, and you make me look a lot better to the owner. So I really, 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 really appreciate all your support, whether it's to me and the channel or just coming out and the shop and buying the plants. So yeah, I really appreciate it to you guys. All right, so this is Hoya davidcumingii looking incredible in this little yogurt pot. Slip the tag back in. Okay, and we still have another Hoya in a pot. I feel like I kind of finished talking about work. We're gonna just plant this one in terracotta. It's just gonna be how this one looks. I love this Hoya, by the way. This is Hoya Iris Marie. This is the last one from Logees, and I love how upright it is. It's so different than the other Hoyas, and I'm excited to watch how it grows. Like, how far upright is it going to grow before it starts to trail? Is it going to trail? I have no idea, but it looks like one that's like ridiculously easy to propagate. So I'm really excited for this one to grow. So we're just gonna go ahead and plant this one in this standard terracotta pot. Some really nice roots on this Hoya Iris Marie. I did get a few comments from people being like, my Logees Hoyas are never rooted, or my Logees plants are never rooted that well, but I have to say, these were all very, very well rooted. So almost too well rooted that I wasn't gonna be able to fit that davidcumingii into the pot that I wanted, so sheesh. Just a little bit of info about the plant shop that I work. So it's called Urban Jungle. It's located in South Philadelphia in the East Passyunk neighborhood, which is like kind of a very up and coming neighborhood, but it's like actually up and coming because I hear like up and coming neighborhoods and they're like very not nice, but East Passyunk is so nice. Anyway, I just finished repotting this Hoya Iris Marie. I love it in this terracotta pot. It looks excellent. This is probably my favorite Hoya out of the 4 that I got. I felt like when I got them, my favorite was probably like the ilagiorum because it's very veiny and nice, but I just love the growth habit of this plant. Like, look at this. It doesn't even seem like it's a Hoya. So Hoya Iris Marie, probably my favorite, and I'm pretty sure it was the most inexpensive one too, so that is pretty cool. But these 4 Hoyas have been acclimating incredibly well to my home. So you can go ahead, if you didn't watch the Logees unboxing video where I unbox all these, and definitely check out Logees' site because this is my first time ordering from Logees and I've always heard good things about them and I was absolutely thrilled, and I'm definitely going to be placing an order sometime soon because I was totally thrilled with these Hoyas. So thank you guys so much for watching my repotting video / talking about working in a plant shop. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Foliage and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day!